Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to be showing you how I assemble my anamorphic setup, which is made up of a Rapido FVD 16, which is the single focus adapter, front metal jacket and a rear metal jacket. Behind this enclosure is a Schneider Cinelux ES, and as a taking lens a Contax Zeiss 50mm 1.4, which I converted into EF native mount. There's little information out there about how to assemble them, even though I know Rapido has done some videos on it, but they don't go into too much detail, and I found myself being a bit puzzled about how to put together the setup, so I think this could be helpful. So let's get right into it. These are basically all of the tools you will need. The Allen keys are provided by Rapido if you bought their package. This is a set of tiny screwdrivers which you will need for one of the steps. The electrical tape is for locking the focus in the taking lens, and the scissors are just for cutting the electrical tape into little strips. Okay, so we're gonna get started with the assembly of the rear metal jacket, which will host our Contax Zeiss 50mm f1.4. So as you can see, well, first thing you need to do is take your taking lens and your anamorphic adapter and just focus to infinity and find the best setting for focusing to infinity. Then you need to take the electrical tape and just make sure that the focus of your taking lens is fixed. As you can see, I just took some bits of electrical tape and made sure that, let's see if I can get this in focus, made sure that the focus of my lens was fixed. So yeah, just set up your anamorphic adapter, the taking lens, and focus to infinity. You need to slide your taking lens into the rear metal jacket, like so. And then you need to screw the first set of screws. You don't need to really care about the positioning of the taking lens at this point. You can just screw it however it went in. So yeah, there's 4 screws on this step. You need to make sure there are different kinds of screws. You need to use the short ones for this step. You need to make sure you don't tighten them too much, otherwise you'll damage the lens, which I already have done, so you want to avoid that. Okay, once the 4 screws are in there, next step is sliding this ring. You need to make sure the rocked bit faces the top side of your taking lens, and you also need to make sure that your taking lens's aperture is completely open. So now you just slide it in and align the holes with the end bit of this aperture here. So once that is aligned, we need to screw the next set of screws, which are these long ones, which are just a tiny bit longer than the ones we used previously. And just the same principle applies. You don't want to damage your lens, so don't over-screw them, over-tighten them, sorry. Once you feel that you need to apply a little bit of pressure, just stop. In order for the aperture ring to turn, these screws need to be very, very little tight. Now that the 3 screws are in place, we can now check whether our aperture ring is working. Yep, that's perfect. You need to fine-tune the screws until you don't need to make a huge amount of pressure in order to turn the aperture ring. Since the rear metal jacket doesn't have any markings, you could just take your time now to make little markings on your jacket in order to know what aperture you're using at each moment, but I haven't taken the time to do that yet. Okay, so now the process of setting up our rear metal jacket is almost done. We just need one final step, which is the front bit. We need to screw this to the top of our lens. Okay, and once we can't turn it anymore, we need to align these holes with the holes on the rear metal jacket. There we go. Once these are aligned, now we need our set of tiny screwdrivers and we need to just tighten the screws. Which can be a little bit tricky because these are very small screws, but and there we go. Our rear metal jacket is ready to be mounted. So now we can move on to our front metal jacket, which will house our Cinelux lens or whatever you're using in case your anamorphic setup is different to mine. So to begin this process, we will start by screwing this bit into our anamorphic lens. You just need to turn it, and this basically will protect your lens from the screws, you can see. And now that this is ready, we can just slide this piece and just tighten a couple of these screws so it stays together. You don't need to use any specific holes, just spread them around. Okay, now once we have those 3 screws in there, we can just put this one in any of the holes. You can just tighten it by hand. Like so. Okay, so once we have this, we can slide the whole piece into our front metal jacket. You just need to make sure that this bit faces the front and just go like this and screw it. Okay, so once we've done this, we just need to again tighten the screws from the front, these right here. And for that we will use the long screws, which are also tightened with an Allen key. Okay, so once this is tight enough, we can just screw our FVD. Okay, and once it feels tight enough, just tighten these screws on the sides. And now it's time to put together our front and our rear metal jacket. And for that, we simply screw it in. And then we tighten the last piece of the rear metal jacket, which is this ring. And there you go. Now you just need to make sure the lenses are aligned. And to do that, you just move around. You can just untie this and move around the rear lens until it is properly aligned. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I had to say about how to assemble this anamorphic setup. Let me know in the comments if you need me to explain anything else or you felt I left anything out of the video, and whether you would like me to upload any further testing about it. So thank you very much for watching.